Now, when I left Pennsylvania, I had no plan. I had a yellow and blue duffel bag and a job. That's it. When my dad dropped me off at Penn Station in Newark, I called my friend from high school and let her know what I had done. She thought I was nuts. But she said, come here. I'm pretty sure my mom will say it's okay. And her mom opened her doors to me. However, on one condition, she called my dad and let him know that I was safe. So she did that. And I didn't want to go stay with my sister because now at this time my sister is married. She has my nephew. She has a new family. And I didn't want to be in the way. For so long, I felt like I was in everyone's way. And I didn't want to be a burden. I felt like a burden everywhere I went. My friend's house was the place where we all hung out at. So it just felt like, okay, I'm going to just be here temporary anyway. I gave myself a time frame at my friend's house. So I picked up a second job and I dove into school. I wanted to save up for my place. I wanted to move out of there by a certain time because, once again, I didn't want to feel like a burden. And try to work on my relationship with boyfriend A. I already told y'all boyfriend A was a creep. Boyfriend A started sleeping with a girl that lived across the street. A mess. So at this point, I'm pissed because now I'm like, enough is enough. Like, you just doing too much. I confronted boyfriend A. Me confronting him led to him slapping me across the face. This was the first time I ever experienced someone putting their hands on me. And now at this point, I'm wondering, what did I do to deserve this? Because all I did was let you know what you were doing to me was hurting me. And I didn't like it. And now you're putting your hands on me. That will turn and fester into a physically abusive relationship. I stayed in this relationship for an additional year. I knew that this wasn't love and I wasn't worthy of this. But every time he hit me, I questioned my worth. Why am I being hit on? What am I doing wrong? How can I fix this? Do I need to look a certain way, walk a certain way, talk a certain way? I started doubting my entire being. And now I feel even worse about myself. The more I stayed with him, the lower my self-esteem got. Shame and insecurity became companions. They were like my best friends. That's all I knew. That's how I felt every day. That's how I carried myself. One day on my way to class, I'm on the bus and I had this sharp pain like shoot up my side and I collapsed right there on the bus. The bus driver pulled the bus over, asked me was I okay. Like, I was able to get up, but as soon as I got off the bus, the hospital was right there. I went into the hospital, checked in, did all the tests, and found out that I was having an ectopic pregnancy. The baby was growing in my tubes. That nurse told me that I had to have an abortion that day or I can die. I was petrified. I was alone. I was scared. And I did not want to call anyone because, once again, shame and insecurities are my best friends. I went into hiding. I had an abortion, arrested. I went home. I recuperated and I picked up like nothing ever happened. I confronted boyfriend A and let him know what happened and we got into a fight. I found out that he got someone else pregnant and then he pulled a knife on me because I told him I didn't want to be in this relationship anymore. I was determined to stop feeling like crap, but this pain will lead into me now yearning for love. And it was also a sting of rejection in that relationship because every time he cheated on me, every time he stepped out on me, he got somebody pregnant. It was just like, what are you doing? But I'm not pointing the finger at him like, what's your issue? I'm pointing the finger at me like, girl, what's your issue? What are you doing that he has to step out? News got back to my mom that I was living in New Jersey. Back then, Facebook was just starting and my cousin reached out to me. I haven't seen my cousin in a long time and she asked me what was going on and I told her. This cousin is on my mom's side of the family. So I told my cousin I was staying with a friend. She talked to my uncle, my great uncle, which is my mother's uncle. So my uncle convinced me to come stay with the family. And I said, okay, no problem. I ended the relationship with boyfriend A, and I felt like this was a great start. So I'm now staying with my aunt and uncle and my 3 cousins. Things are going great. My cousin taught me how to drive. I got back into church. I even got a new job and also got promoted. But within a year, I started a relationship with boyfriend B. Me and boyfriend B had a good relationship. He was nice. He was closer to my age, and things were going swell until I got a positive pregnancy test. Told boyfriend B about the positive pregnancy test, and I was actually excited. I thought we can have a life together. Oh, so I thought. Boyfriend B called me all types of names. I was a hoe. I was a slut. He said I was trying to trap him. Trap you? But we work at the same place. I terminated the pregnancy and moved on with my life. I act as if nothing ever happened. After the whole abortion experience with boyfriend B, one day I just caught myself really missing my mom. I had to go upstairs, and I think I walked in the cafeteria and I started crying. One of the supervisors caught me and asked me what was wrong, and I proceeded to tell him the struggles that my mom was experiencing. Immediately, he told me his testimony of how he was a recovering drug addict and he was celebrating 22 years of sobriety. He gave me a card to a rehab center that he participated in. He told me he was celebrating 22 years of sobriety and that it was a great program. By this time, I'll say 21. It's important for you to remember that majority of my sister's life, she has fought with my mom in her battle with addiction. So when I told my sister about the rehab place that my supervisor had gave me, she was excited, but then she also gave me a warning of caution. She told me she did not want me to go down the same road that she was going down, because we see mom relapse over and over again. It's heartbreaking. So it feels like a wound starts to heal and then scab gets ripped off, and it was just like constant. She didn't want me to experience that. But I told my sister, she fought for so long, now it's time for me to try. Now I'm living with my aunt and uncle, which is my great uncle, and he's my great uncle because he's my nana's brother. So my nana had 2 brothers and a sister. So one brother used to get high with my mom. So when I found out about this rehab facility, I knew that I needed to get in contact with him because I knew that he will know where she was. And lo and behold, oh how God orders our steps, he came to visit my great uncle. And I immediately was excited. Hey, and I started telling him about my supervisor at my job and how he went to rehab and how this facility was great and I needed to get in contact with mommy. I told him, take me to her because I know you know where she at. He backpedaled, he changed the subject so many times, and I wasn't trying to hear that. I said, sir, listen here. All you got to do is take me to her and I'll do the rest. I said, because if you don't, I'm going to go find her myself. And eventually he caved in and he took me to see my mom. He knew exactly where she was. That day when I saw my mom, it broke my heart. She was skinny. I saw all the bones in her face, and she just looked so weak and so weary. And as soon as she saw me, she started crying. But I saw hope in my mom's eyes. My mom proceeded to tell me that she was just praying for God to take her out of there. She was praying and asking God for a do-over. She was praying and asking God for a fresh start. She was praying and asking God to save her. And there I was. Though I had a horrific experience at that job because I ended up in a relationship that ended in an abortion and it left me heartbroken. But in that job, I got a resource that will lead my mom on the road of recovery. And for that, I say it was worth it. Today, me and my mom had a heart-to-heart conversation. I'm now a 21-year-old woman, and I don't have a relationship with my mom. I don't know her. I pleaded with her. I told her it was time for her to get clean. Your kids are grown at this point, and we have no relationship with you. All we know is our mom as a drug addict. And I didn't want her to live like that anymore. But I knew this was a choice that she had to make. She had to be ready for what was on the other side. That day, we went to visit the rehab and we filled out the application, but there were no spots available. So the guy asked my mom if she really was ready to get clean, because he'll do some research and he'll find a place for her, but it will take a couple of days. My mom said she was ready, but she had to go back to the crack house where she was staying because it was nowhere else for her to go. But my mom held on for those 3 days. On the third day, she went back to the rehab place and he found a spot for her. And that was August 2026. Now, my mom holds a master's degree in drug counseling and she is 17 years clean. Ain't God good, y'all? My aunt and uncle decided that they were going to sell the house. So at the time, I knew I was saving for a place, but then me and one of my cousins was talking about getting a place together. But she was in a relationship with this guy and she was in love with this guy. Immediately that wave of rejection and abandonment came back because I knew that she was going to pick to live with her boyfriend, not me. So where would that leave me? So I ran. I left my aunt and uncle's house. I went and just found the apartment because I was scared of getting left behind. It would be years later that I would apologize to my aunt and my cousins because how I moved and how I left was so wrong. This is what I say. We can't make permanent decisions based off temporary situations, because all I had to do was open my mouth and communicate. And it could have been a resolution, it could have been a conversation, but because I'm running off emotions, I bailed. But this will be behavior that I will continue to carry on in my life, making permanent decisions off of temporary emotions.